This is an introduction to GCSE music performance, and performance in GCSE music is worth 30%, so it's a sizable chunk of our overall course. There's two options to approach performance, but you don't have to make a decision as to which option you're going to take until towards the end of the course in Year 11. Your choice will be based perhaps on your musical background. If you play an instrument or sing, then you can learn to play one piece of music, and you would buy the sheet music, you would learn to play all of the music, practice the music for a few minutes every day, trying to get as many details in the music as possible to prove that you have a developed understanding of it. And then you would make a recording where you would play the music live. This is great for students who've been learning to play an instrument for a long time, or maybe they start in Year 9 and have developed it as something that they really want to improve during the course. Whenever I refer to an instrument, I'm referring to instruments and voice, because some students study singing as well. So that's one way to do it. Just to say on the back of that, it's possible if you're a drummer or you play bass guitar or electric guitar, that you might play with a backing track, and that is common practice. Also, if you play the flute or oboe or violin, one of those orchestral instruments, then it could be that you have somebody supporting you with a piano accompaniment. It's really important that if a piece has been written with a piano accompaniment in mind, that the piano accompaniment is there. However, there is now another option, which is PVT. PVT stands for Performance via Technology. And in Performance via Technology, we're not looking to produce music live. We're looking to record it, which can be recorded on a computer, or very helpfully now, it can be recorded on an iPad. And there's many different ways that we can learn the music. We can buy sheet music, just in the same way that we would if we were learning to play an instrument. And the piece you're working on at the moment, The Force from Star Wars, is like that sheet music. It's music notation. And so we learn to understand this so that we can enter the notes into a piece of software. And at the moment we're using GarageBand as that piece of software. It could also be that in the future that you don't want to do that from musical notation, where you have dots and lines on a score like we've been studying. But it's still really helpful to help you to understand music in more detail by making that approach. An alternative could be a lead sheet. And lead sheets are available online. A lead sheet will tell you the lyrics in a song, for example, and the chords that the artist is playing for the harmony as the song develops. Now, one of the flaws of a lead sheet, unless it's a very, very good quality one, is it doesn't have specific information about which melody notes should be played or which rhythm should be played. So you might have to work it out by listening to it if you use a lead sheet, but that's another possibility. And the final way to do it is you can just listen to music, work out how it goes, work out how it's constructed, and from that you can enter the notes into GarageBand or whatever software you're using. Now, very importantly to be thinking about at this point is when you do one of these performances over here, you're only graded on accuracy, so how accurately you play the music, and also interpretation and expression. And that's how well you play the detail in the music and how you communicate the performance. So that's marked quite differently to Performance via Technology, because in PVT projects, there is also accuracy, but then there's balance. So it's how well you manage there being more than, well, there has to be a minimum of 3 tracks. So then we start talking about mixing. We also start talking about panning, because when you have this is this person's left ear, and this is their right ear. They will hear things in a certain way. Perceived sound comes from a different place within the space of the performance. So we can control that using pan. So you can already see that there is going to be far more focus on the technology that you have to use and learning how to control sound in a different way. We'll also use digital effects such as compression and reverb and EQ. Those manipulate the sound so that we can use them in different ways. For example, reverb is short for reverberation and explains how sound behaves in a space. So if I was to be in our classroom and I was just to shout hello, then it has a certain reverberation because of the size, shape and material in my room. However, if I was to walk into York Minster and shout hello at the same volume, the sound would reverberate for a much longer length of time because the material is different to my classroom, and it's also a much bigger reverberant space. So being able to control that is really important when you're working with technology. You'll also be graded on a sense of style. So it's all very well being able to enter notes and being able to use effects and plugins and things like that, but can you do it consistently so there's a sense of style throughout? That's really important. The last one's expression. I think this is the hardest to prove that you have the understanding of, because expression is all about making the performance come across as if it's been created by a human. And if you perform in a melody, so you play it in on a keyboard, then there will be moments within that melody where you'll get louder or you'll get softer naturally, not because the dynamics tells you to do that, but just because that's the kind of natural flow of the music. Now, if you enter things by step, as we've done so far in the Star Wars project, then the music can feel very robotic because the velocity or the volume of each of the individual notes that's been inputted is exactly the same. I would never, if I was playing a piece of music naturally, I would never play every note exactly the same because it would sound too robotic, and I want to create shape in the music. So therefore we have to go into more detail when we're thinking about expression. In both performances, there is something referred to as demand, and that's literally the difficulty of the piece of music that you're working on. Now, again, demand is slightly different for each type. So in type 1, the instrumental and singing performance, if you do a grade 5 examination level piece, you'll score 6 out of 6 for demand. Grade 4 would give you 5 out of 6, grade 3 gives you 4 out of 6, grade 2 gives you 3 out of 6, grade 1 gives you 2 out of 6, and if it's below grade 1, you still get 1 out of 6 for demand. The only way you get 0 on performance is if you hand nothing in at all. In the performance via technology, it's done slightly differently. To get 0 to 2 out of 6, you're going to only use the computer sounds. And as we begin to start to study performance via technology, that is going to be the score. So the maximum demand you'll get is 2 out of 6. To get 3 to 6 out of 6, you have to also include audio. An audio, actual sound that you record, it has a different complexity to it. The Star Wars project would be 6 out of 6 if one of your parts was audio. Now, interestingly, because you're the producer, you do not have to play that yourself. You can ask somebody else to play it. So if there's somebody in your class that plays a cello, or somebody else in the school that plays a cello, then it's going to be possible in the future to arrange a recording time with them, and I'll teach you how to make a recording and how to plug in your microphone and where to place your microphone and the other different considerations that you've got to make the best recording possible. We'll then have to talk about how you might edit that recording and how you might mix or blend that into the overall piece. But that's something that's quite an interesting thing that lots of students that do the PVT course are really interested and want to do. Okay, so there you go. That's an introduction to the difference in GCSE music performance between an instrumental or singing performance and a PVT performance.